Hello and a very warm evening to all of you. I am Sheetal, your verbal teacher here at Hitbullseye, and today I will be discussing, or let's say we will continue our discussion on subject specific RCs for your MBA entrance exam. And today we have science and technology for you. So trust me, this video is going to be highly beneficial to all of the students, and especially those students who are actually not from science and technology background. We will discuss some of the topics that do often come and some of the jargon that can be used in science and technology specific RCs. We will see how to deal with such RCs, what approach should we adopt in order to get those answers correct. So without any further ado, let's carry forward with the tradition we've been following in the last few videos, the last few lives, and let's start with today's class. Alright, so why are RCs actually challenging? And I can understand for students, those who are from humanities or commerce background, science and technology do actually pose some difficulty. So it's different and it's difficult because effective reading comprehension involves an understanding of the context of a passage and the ability to solve the related questions accurately in a limited time. So if you have had not exposure to this type of RCs, to one such RC with which you are not familiar with, definitely it will take more time relatively if you compare it to the RCs that you are comfortable with. Right, so not just comprehension, you have to, within the time frame, you have to solve the questions also. So hence, you will be required to have good comprehension, speed and accuracy together to be able to solve an RC. Now another question arises here. We always say that you should speed up, but should that speed compromise your, let's say your take on the facts given in the RC? No, you cannot do that. So your speed should be good enough, but yes, you should be careful about what you are reading so that you don't have to visit back the RC and waste even more time on the same RC. So your RC and the questions related to it should take some time, about 8 to 9 minutes and not more than that. And you have to acquire this speed. Now there are hardly any days left for your CAT exam. It's very important that you start practicing, keeping a stopwatch with you, and see how much time you take to read it completely, to scan it completely, to skim through all the points given in it, to take hold on the main idea and go with those questions. Right? So let's see what science RCs have for us. So science includes all these subjects like biology, chemistry, physics, medicine and mathematics are some of the popular areas covered in this particular domain. So science cannot be limited to just one subject. As I've always been saying, all the subjects in fact do interact with each other. If you read one particular area, you are definitely having a hold over the other areas also. These passages come laden with many facts and principles. So that is a good thing. That's a positive point. If we talk about literature, if we talk about fantasy fiction, most of the words, or let's say most of the phrases used there are figurative. And those who do not come from literature or arts background often lack or often face problem understanding those particular words and phrases. In science, simple and direct facts and principle will be given to you. There will be no second meaning or no intended meaning that you have to deliberately find out. Right, so that's a good thing. That's a positive point. You are simply given facts and principle, and lots of them. Do not allow yourself to be confused by their technical jargon. Jargon is something I believe can pose some difficulty here and there, but yes, not if you have read enough and practiced enough. So jargon is area or profession specific vocabulary. The technical terms often face difficulty, but we are going to discuss some of the jargon of science and technology in today's live. So that's the reason I've been saying you stay tuned and share this video as much as you can so that maximum people benefit from this. So we are not going to, or it's even not possible, looking at the paucity of time, to cover all the jargon of science, but yes, you will get a fair idea about what kind of words play the key role in such RCs. what words should you go for, what words should you learn, right? So I believe it's going to be helpful to you in this way. Instead, focus on the major ideas in the passage to understand the essence of what is being said. So I came across this student recently. She almost skipped a passage just because it was based on political science. She just saw a word or two here and there which she felt is not comprehensible to us. But trust me, the questions based on that RC were relatively easier than the one she actually attempted. So don't fall for this. If you see a subject area like science and technology which had not been your forte, it's still, you can still understand the context. So if you see technical jargon, if you do not even know the meaning of it, you can at least understand the context. You can comprehend the passage as a whole and you will still be able to attempt those questions. And in fact, you will be able to guess the meaning of that particular jargon used in the RC. The questions here would be easy to understand and answer because they will mostly be based on facts and principles laid in the RC. Most often, you would be able to answer the question in case of such passages even without fully understanding the specifics given in the passage, again because they are based on facts. However, to improve your familiarity with the sciences, try to go through the sciences columns. So here I have given you some of the sources which you can refer to in these last few days whenever you feel bored or whenever you feel you are tired after reading so much. Just for a refresher, you can refer to these sources and accumulate more vocabulary into your knowledge. Columns of The Hindu, The Guardian, Washington Post, Discover, Safari, Scientist, India, etc. and science-related journals. So see, there is ample material available to you. And if you still say that this is particular thing which I don't know where to read from, that is not justified. Trust me guys. It's high time now. Take out 1 hour daily for reading and for, exposing yourself to diverse sources, diverse areas. Reading or attempting RCs is not something that can come in a day or two. It's still not late. Even if now you are reading, you will be justifying yourself and you will be justifying your attempt to give this particular CAT exam or any other MBA entrance exam. Let's now see some jargon. So sit tight, it's going to be very interesting. These are such words we come across in our day-to-day life, but do we even need to know their meaning? Let's see. Biome, the first word, a climatically and geographically defined area having ecologically similar communities of plants and animals, often called ecosystem. So you know what ecosystem is? Where life actually exists, where organisms and natural phenomena interact with each other for the existence of life. So understand it like this. In this particular area, whatever organisms are there and how they are interacting with each other for the benefit of plants and animals both, where life exists, this particular area, a local area, is known as biome. So like a pond is also a biome because it sustains life, every kind of life, be it plant, be it aquatic animals. Right, so this was biome for you. Brown field, a land previously used for industrial, commercial purposes. Such land is usually polluted due to hazardous waste. So when you get these words in your RCs, their definition or their meaning will never be given with them. The examiner expects you to understand this terminology. So it's better that expose yourself to the maximum terminology you can. Moving on to the next jargon, which is greenhouse effect. The trapping of the heat in the Earth's atmosphere due to the emission of the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, or water vapor. Or you can simply say the increase in temperature of the Earth and the atmospheric layer that surrounds the Earth. The increase in temperature is known as global warming also and greenhouse effect also. So both of these terms, they are interrelated to each other. Because of greenhouse effect, global warming is caused. So in greenhouse effect, there are certain gases like carbon dioxide, methane and water vapor. When amount of these gases increases, they trap the heat of the sun rays that are falling on the earth. And this results in global warming, which is the heating up of the earth's atmosphere due to greenhouse gases forming a blanket around it. And it is very hazardous for the life that sustains on earth. Moving on to the next jargon is plankton. Microscopic animals and plants suspended in water, a valuable food source for the animals. So all those, if you've seen on Discovery Channel, all that underwater Discovery channels, underwater shows that they show, the Discovery channels, you can see some grass kind of thing there. That is plankton that helps aquatic animals to survive. They feed on those planktons in the water, on the waterbed. Next term, a technical term is IoT, which is Internet of Things, which has been in vague. The usage of this term has been in vague lately. Why? You'll understand it yourself. Look at the meaning of it. It describes physical objects or groups of such objects which with sensors, processing ability, software, interacting with each other to ease your life. For example, you use your smartwatch. It is connected to your mobile phone also. You get to know who's calling you. You get to message people from your smartwatch. It also tells you about your heartbeat. So all these gadgets, all these softwares that have been developed lately, every appliance of your house is again interconnected, and you can just do everything by a click, by a remote. So this is all Internet of Things. So this whole interaction of all these smart gadgets is a Internet of Things. So one is the internet that you see on your monitor screen or your mobile phones. That is just on the screen, that is just the software. But when you actually see things interacting with each other around you, that surrounds you, it is known as Internet of Things. Next in the line is blockchain technology. So it again includes on the basis of which all the cryptocurrency works. So the cryptocurrency, which is not actually the physical money, people do invest a lot lately in cryptocurrency. So this is governed by blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is used to handle all the cryptocurrency work done. I hope this much is clear. Let's move on. So you can stop me anytime, or you can ask or put in your questions in the chat box if you have any doubt. Next word is genome. All the genes of an organism put together as a whole is known as genome. This one is easy to remember. Disruptive innovation. Isn't this paradoxical? Isn't this an oxymoron? It's an innovation. Innovation is that simplifies your work, that simplifies your hard work. You don't have to do hard work actually. And it's disruptive. Disruptive is with negative connotation. Let's see why this term came in existence. Disruptive innovation. An innovation that simplifies and makes more affordable products and services to undesirable or ignored market. So they give rise to undesirable market. Your use of machinery on the farms, which has replaced the labor. What is it? You use Uber and Ola instead of actually using auto and rickshaw. What is it? These are all examples of disruptive innovation. You don't actually go to the market or the supermarket or the stores to buy things. You just blink it. What is this? All of this is an example of disruptive innovation, when there is innovation actually, but it's disruptive. Moving on to the next one, which is quantum. Quantum, you must have heard of quantum physics, and this word, which is related to photon, again comes across, we come across this word so many times in our day-to-day life, but we never think about what the actual meaning of quantum is. It's an amazing phenomena. See, quantum is a dual state of matter in which a particle exhibits wave as well as particle nature. So the ray of light that you see, what is it actually? Is it matter? We just believe it's a light. It's a ray of light. And we cannot think of that it is also a matter. And that's the beauty of it. This quantum, it talks about the dual state of that ray of light. Not just it exhibits the quality of a wave with wavelength, but it also behaves like a matter. Why? Because if you put something in between of a ray of light, it will deflect. So how is it able to deflect? Because it has matter. The matter will come in contact with the other surface and it will deflect, right? So this exhibits dual nature, that of wave and that of particle also, and this phenomena is known as quantum. All right, done with the jargon. We tried to cover many jargon in today's video, though this is not enough, trust me. But this would just give you an idea where to pay attention. What are those key words that require our attention, our extra, let's say, effort to learn them, to understand them actually. Not even learn them. If you understand them, you will eventually remember them. On the screen, you can see an RC. Quickly go through this slide and we will move on to the next slide. So we are today going to talk or discuss two RCs. One is a practice RC and the other one is an actual RC based on science and technology, which came in your CAT exam in 2021 slot 1, an RC based on Cuttlefish. If any one of you have given that previous year's exam, you must remember, you must be aware of this particular RC. Right, so we will take two RCs today. So it's going to be an interesting session. Quickly go through this and we'll move on to the next page. Once you are done reading it, please send in a thumbs up or say done in the chat box. Or let's just quickly read it together. In a plausible but speculative scenario, oceanographer Douglas Martinson suggests that temperature increases caused by global warming would not significantly affect the stability of Antarctic environment, where sea ice forms on the periphery of the continent. So this particular oceanographer, this particular scientist, he is stating something contrary to what we have been listening, what we have been taught, that if global warming increases, it's gonna affect the periphery of the Antarctic region where there is mostly glacier. The ice, the water is in the water is in solid form. Yes, so the water is in solid form. So this particular oceanographer, Douglas Martinson, is stating that even if the temperature increases, the temperature or the atmosphere of that Antarctic region is not going to change much. Now he will move on to prove it in the next slide. True, now he is agreeing to some extent that it is true less sea ice would form in the winter because global warming would cause temperatures to rise. However, now he is stating, he is giving credence to what he believes. Martinson argues the effect of a warmer atmosphere may be offset as follows. The rise in temperature will be dismissed. How? Its effect will be dismissed. The formation of the sea ice causes the concentration of salt in surface waters to increase. Less sea ice would mean a smaller increase in the concentration of salt. Now this is again a scientific phenomena. See, reading the whole passage would serve no purpose if you do not understand the essence of that passage. If you understand this particular phenomena, you've cracked the RC. What are they talking about? This particular oceanographer hypothesizes that we know that ocean water is saline in nature. So if there is less water, more ice, the same amount of salt will be densely concentrated on that surface water. It will be heavier. But if there is less glacier or less ice and more sea water, the same amount of salt will be loosely concentrated, right? So what would this do? Less salty surface water would be less dense, and therefore less likely to sink. Now, because the surface water is lighter, once the global warming has increased, there is more water, same amount of salt, the surface water is lighter. So there are less chances that it would sink and stir up the deep water, maintaining the temperature of the water surface. You just have to understand the phenomena in this. There is no intended or second meaning in science and technology passages. The deep water with all its stored heat would rise to the surface at a slower rate. So this process will be slower after the increase in global warming. Thus, although the winter sea ice cover might decrease, the surface water would remain cold enough. The temperature is more or less going to be same. See, now this is again a phenomena. If the surface water is heavier, it will sink and stir up, right? And the water in the surface at the bottom would come up, rise up. But this would not happen at a very fast rate once the global warming has increased. This will maintain the temperature on the surface water. Okay, on the basis of this, you have your first question. Let's see who's gonna answer this. So this question has 5 options, 2 on this slide, 3 on the next one. Quickly go through these and inform me in the chat box. It's an inference-based question, not a direct question. Read all the options carefully. If you understood the RC, you'll definitely be able to do it. It can be inferred from the passage that which of the following is true of the surface waters in the current Antarctic environment. Right guys, quickly go through these 2 options and we'll move on to the next slide. Hoping that you are done reading these 2, let's move on to the next slide. Come on, try and make your wise guesses. What can be the right answer? All right. Let's see. This question was relatively so easy, but I am sure maximum people might miss one point here in the question itself. Even if you have not given too much of time on reading that lengthy passage, you'll still be able to answer this question, because the question is based on, it can be inferred from the passage that which of the following is true of the surface water in the current Antarctic environment. The whole passage was talking about what would happen if the temperature rises, but the question has come from current Antarctic environment. So what is the current scenario? The current scenario is surface water is less in liquid form, and therefore it is more dense, it is more heavy. There are high chances that it will sink and stir up the deep waters at a higher speed, higher rate. So you can clearly see the answer here. It is C. They are more likely to sink and stir up deep waters than they would be if atmospheric temperatures were to increase. Though the passage was talking about what would happen once the temperature increases, the question has come on the basis of the current scenario. I hope this one is clear. So was it that difficult? What does it require? Just a little more attention. Just be more careful while reading the question. Right, let's now move on to a very wonderful RC that was seen in 2021 CAT exam slot 1 based on Cuttlefish. So it is about marine life, an animal from the marine aquatic life. Quickly go through the passage and then we'll see the questions. And trust me, though the passage might seem a little bit difficult, it is not. It is in fact very interesting. The first line itself says, introduces you to the main idea. Cuttlefish are full of personality. So it means the whole RC will revolve around exploring how are cuttlefish full of personality, right? You've got your subject area, you've got the main idea. As behavioral ecologist Alexandra Shunal found out while researching the cephalopods' potential to display self-control. So the RC is going to explain or explore the self-control of cuttlefish. Self-control is thought to be the cornerstone of intelligence. The RC will be talking about the intelligence of cuttlefish. So this is how you have to read. When you are reading, you have to practice scanning and skimming. Quickly scan through the whole RC and pay more attention on those keywords and key lines which are important, which can lead us to the main idea and eventually to the conclusion. So what is she saying? As it is an important prerequisite for complex decision making and planning for the future, says Chanel, study used a modified version of the marshmallow test. So what was this marshmallow test? Now this, guys, this is all additional information. You will never find your main idea in the additional information. Whenever there are examples, stories or facts given in a passage, they are given or provided by the author just to add credence or just to emphasize the main idea. So this is all extra information. Yes, definitely it will help you, but you can quickly skim through it. During the original marshmallow test, psychologist Walter Mischel, so this test was performed on children, human children, age 4 to 6, with one marshmallow. He told them if they waited for 15 minutes, they would get a second marshmallow. What did the human child do? A long-term follow-up study showed that the children who waited for the second marshmallow had been more successful in life, because this reflected they were more intelligent than other people, the other children in the test. Yes, let's read it further. The cuttlefish version of the experiment looked a lot different. So now the same experiment, similar kind of experiment was applied to the cuttlefish, but yes, with a different way, because they cannot communicate with the cuttlefish, right? So what did they do? Say they resorted to a different method. The researcher worked with 6 cuttlefish under 9 months old, so they were all under 9 months old, and presented them with seafood instead of sweets. Experiment showed that the cuttlefish favorite food is grass shrimp, while raw prawns are so-so, as in they don't like it too much, but yes, to survive they can have prawns also, but their favorite is grass shrimps. And Asian shore crab is nearly unacceptable. They seriously don't like what? Asian shore crabs. Since the researcher couldn't explain to the cuttlefish that they would need to wait for the shrimp, they trained them. So these cuttlefish, just as scientists have been experimenting on the chimpanzees, monkeys, dogs and cats and rats, they experimented on cuttlefish also. They trained them. How did they do it? They trained them to recognize certain shapes that indicate when a food item would become available. The symbols were pasted on the transparent drawers so that the cuttlefish could see the food. So it was a transparent box, so the fish could see what food is there inside it. So obviously they do recognize the grass shrimps. One drawer labeled with a circle to mean immediate held raw king prawn, but they don't prefer prawns over shrimps. So what did they do? They waited. Another drawer labeled with a triangle to mean delayed held live grass shrimp. Now, so many students got confused about this RC, but no, seriously, this was so easy and so interesting. It's just that 3 food items are mentioned and all the 3 were given to them with an experiment was held on basis of it. So square label meant never, If their self-control is flexible and I hadn't just trained them to wait in any context, you would expect the cuttlefish to take the immediate reward, even if it's their second preference. Second preference was, what was it? Circle, immediate, right? And triangle for grass shrimp and square for crabs, which they never preferred. Let's see what happened next. Even if it's their second preference, says Chanel, and that's what they did. That showed the researcher that the cuttlefish wouldn't reject the prawns if it was the only food available. In the experimental trial, the cuttlefish didn't jump onto the prawns. They didn't jump onto the prawns. They waited for their favorite food box to open up. So what does this show? That they actually do have some intelligence. If the live grass shrimp were labeled with a triangle, many waited for the shrimp drawer to open up. Each time the cuttlefish showed it couldn't wait, the researcher tagged another 10 seconds on to the next round of waiting before releasing the shrimp. The longest a cuttlefish waited was 130 seconds. Chanel says that the cuttlefish usually sat on the bottom. Look at this, what an intelligent creature. It sat on the bottom of the tank and looked at the two food items while they waited, but sometimes they would turn away from their king prawn as if to distract themselves because they wanted to wait for their favorite food. Right? Not every species can use the self-control, but most of the animals that can share another trait in common, long social lives. Another important fact given in the RC, which is going to lead us to the right answer in the upcoming questions. So this is not possible for every species, only for the ones which show a common trait, that is long social lives. Cuttlefish, on the other hand, are solitary. Isn't that amazing? They are solitary creatures. They are not gregarious, social, but still they do have intelligence that don't form relations even with the mates or young. We don't know if living in a social group is important for complex cognition. Cognition is related to your cognates, your mind, your intelligence, unless we also show those abilities are lacking in less social species, says comparative psychologist Jennifer Wonk. I know the RC was a little lengthy, but tell me, anywhere in the RC, did you lose focus? Wasn't it so interesting? So you were almost gazing on almost all the paragraphs. You were engaged with the paragraph. And the wonderful thing is, the questions were even more easier. Let's have a look at the first question. Which one of the following, if true as in it's not true, critical reasoning based question, would best complement the passage's findings? Cuttlefish waited longer than 100 seconds for the shrimp drawer to open up. If means what? That is not already given in the passage. So this thing was already given in the passage. We can easily eliminate the first point. Let's have a look at the second one. Cuttlefish are equally fond of live grass shrimp and raw prawn. Would this add to the passage's finding? No, it was clearly given in the passage that they don't prefer prawns over grass shrimp. So we can eliminate this one. Third one is cuttlefish live in a big group that exhibit sociability. How did the passage end? The passage, or let's say the finding of the scientist, ended on an ambiguous note that what if these creatures were actually social? This would add so much of meaning to their intelligence. And the question is asking you, which of the following, if true, would best complement the passage? So this particular thing, being social, cuttlefish being social, would add or would complement the passage's finding. So third one is the right answer. Cuttlefish cannot distinguish between geometric shapes. This is again out of the scope question, just to confuse you. This is not even related to what has been asked. And the last question for today is, which one of the following cannot be inferred from Alexandra Chanel's experiment? Cannot. So these words again require your attention. Cuttlefish, XAT. So again, inference based question, but which of the following cannot be inferent? It's an exceptional question, that is, we have to select one such option which is an exception, which cannot be the inference. Cuttlefish exerts self-control with the help of divergence. Cuttlefish exercise choice when it comes up to food. Intelligence in a species is impossible without sociability. So both of these are right. But the third one, which says that intelligence is impossible without sociability, no. The scientist has actually proven that cuttlefish are solitary animals. They like to live alone, and still they do possess great and wonderful intelligence. So this one is not supported by the passage. So right answer is the third one. I hope you did enjoy doing this particular RC and the previous one also, and you did get some fair idea about how to understand the jargon, how to work smart. You don't have to read the passage again and again. You just have to scan and skim through it and pay more attention to the jargon and the important words and phrases given in it. Be a smart and avid reader. Whenever you are reading anything, within your reading of the first few lines, think about the subject area and the main idea that it is professing, that it is promoting, the passage is promoting, right? And trust me, almost in every CAT exam you do definitely get one science and technology passage. So it's high time now, without wasting any time, practice some passages of science and technology. Alright, I believe you did enjoy today's lecture. That was all for today, and we will be coming up with yet another subject specific RC in the next live. Until then, keep smiling, keep studying, and all the very best for your preparation. Thank you.